Brandon here from Adventure Archaeology. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. As you can see on the side screen right here, I have an eBay listing up, and as you can see, it's counting down. It's already over $2,000. The question is, how high is this bottle going to go? Now, there's a few things that we can discuss about this bottle. One of the things is the rarity. The other thing is obviously the value. I know a lot of you are curious as to how high this bottle is going to go if you haven't already followed the auction. Now, we sold one of these bottles last year in 2018. It went for around $6,300. Now, this one's a little bit slower. You can see there's only a few minutes left. It's not nearly as high. Now, what's the difference and why is this bottle not going as high? Now, let's talk about that a little bit. The reason the bottle's not going as high as last year's could be for a couple varying reasons. One of the reasons could be the collectors that are bidding on it currently are not willing to pay as much. The other factor could be that the market was flooded after the bottle sold last year. So Clayton's bottle last year sold, like I said, for $6,300. That was a world record for the most one of the Birmingham Coke Hutches have ever sold for. There's never been one that has ever sold that high before. So what did that do? It started a chain reaction. Every seller that had a Coke Hutch, whether it was in good condition, poor condition, great condition, they decided that, hey, the market's hot, let's sell it while it's hot. And that makes a lot of sense, except for they flooded the market. And what happens is when the market's flooded, there's more out there, more seen, then the value drops substantially. Now, Clayton did the smart thing on listing this bottle. He listed it about 6 to 8 months after his other listing. Now, that still doesn't mean that the market's not just a little bit flooded, which is why I don't think today that this bottle is going to go for anywhere near $6,000. I personally foresee it going between $3,500 and $4,500. Now, that's still good money for a piece of glass, no doubt. But it's still going to be a little bit disappointing after he got used to thinking about that $6,300 bottle he sold the year before. Now, as far as the value on these bottles, they really vary. I've released a video about 2 or 3 weeks ago that had a hobble skirt in it that I said was worth $200. And that is very accurate. Those bottles have actually sold at upwards of $250. Now, the hobble skirt is obviously after 1915, and it's nowhere near as old as this Coke Hutch that's for sale right now. But I had somebody in the comments that really kind of stirred me up a little bit. He seemed to think that just because it was a hobble skirt, that it was only worth $3 to $4. Now, the question behind this comment and this entire scenario is what made him think that it was only worth $3 to $4? Well, to him, a hobble skirt bottle, regardless of what town was on it, was worth the exact same amount of money just because they were shaped the same. Your bottle shape has little to nothing to do with it. A lot of times the value of a bottle is really based upon the town that it's from and the size of the town. So if you're new to bottle collecting in general, remember, usually the smaller towns in your city or your state is usually going to be the more rare bottles. So here in Alabama, Birmingham is one of the bigger cities. So a lot of times your Birmingham bottles aren't worth as much as, say, a West Blockton bottle like the one that I found. West Blockton was actually home to the smallest Coca-Cola plant in the entire state. That's why that hobble skirt that I found was worth $200. It was based off of the Coca-Cola plant size. Now, that being said, this Birmingham Coke Hutch, what makes it rare? Well, it's the age. Nobody in the U.S. except for Alabama and one other state had Coke-style, Hutchinson-style bottles. That being said, that's what makes it rare, not because of the city. It was the style of the bottle that made it rare. So really, you got to remember that there's a bunch of different factors that goes into making the value of a bottle what it is. Now, I have people come to me almost weekly saying, hey, can you take a look at this and tell me what it's worth? In all honesty, I cannot tell you what it's worth because there's so many bottles that it's really hard to keep up with them. The easiest way for you to be able to tell what something's worth, and let me rephrase that, I can tell you what it's worth if it's here in Alabama. If it's outside of the state of Alabama, it's really hard for me to gauge the price on it because it's just too hard to keep up with all the varieties of bottles. Now, a way for you to check, jump on eBay and then type in the name of your bottle and the year, hit search and see if it's ever been sold before. Look at previous listings and get the last price that it sold for. Not what somebody has it listed for now, not a buy it now price, what it actually sold for. And that should be a good gauge for a value for you. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the next point. At the end of the day, there's some questions of ethics here, I guess. Some people think that just because we're diggers and that we're saving history that we shouldn't sell what we've dug. That's really a personal preference in my opinion. This bottle was not dug. This was a buy and resell scenario. That being said, you got to remember, why did he do this? Well, he did it to make some money. I do the same thing. Sometimes we buy to resell. Just because we didn't dig it doesn't mean that we don't see the value in the bottle. Is it risky? Absolutely. He rolled the dice. He bought this bottle. He spent over $2,000 on this bottle. You can see it's only at $2,200. Is he going to make his money back? Well, you got to remember, there's 10% of that is going to go to eBay fees. The other part of it's going to be shipping. Is it going to be damaged while in shipment? You got to put insurance on. There's a lot of variables there that you got to consider. So whatever this bottle goes for obviously right away, 10% of it's going to go to eBay. The other factor is you do have some of the money that's going to go towards PayPal as well. Now, is it ethical for us to buy and resell? A lot of people are like, oh, you should have told the person you bought it from what it was worth. Well, he didn't know, and like I said, there was a risk there of will it sell that high? Just because it sold for $6,300 last year doesn't mean that this one won't sell for $2,000 this year. The national collectors really vary, and that's really why this bottle is so important and so valuable to a lot of people. It's not just valuable like a regular Coke bottle. It's not just a piece of glass that says Coke on it. This is a very, very historic piece of glass. Therefore, it's not just Alabama collectors that want it because it's from Birmingham. This is not just national. This is worldwide. That is crazy to think about. People in China want this bottle just as much as the guys here in Alabama want it, just because it's a piece of Coke history and you do not see these very often. Now, at the end of the day, with the buy and resell scenario and us pocketing a little bit of money, are we making a killing? No, we're not. Really, it's just another way to help support us in this hobby. Some of the things you may not consider, especially even with this YouTube channel, is the camera equipment, the gas money to get to our locations. All of our dig locations and creeks and everything that we go to are not really close. They're not really close to our house. They're not really close to each other. I can easily spend $40 to $50 a week in gas, just in gas. So if we were to sell $200 worth of bottles a month, that may justify and help pay for part of our gas in this hobby. Really, we do it just because we love it. Now, this hobby is a blast, and it is a ton of fun, and there's a lot of money to be made in it. Is it reasonable to say that we could make a full-time living out of digging? I don't think in this day and age that that's reasonable. Once upon a time, during the 70s and 80s, there were full-time bottle diggers that's all that they did for a living, especially in the Mobile, Alabama area. There was 3 or 4 people that they would go out and they would dig in their dumps and they would dig priviews and they'd bring the bottles back and they would sell them to antique stores, and they made enough money to survive. Nowadays, it's just too big of a risk to go out. We may go out and only find 3 or 4 good bottles in an entire day in a 15-foot hole. Those 3 or 4 good bottles can be worth anywhere from $50 to $200. But when you think about that, 3 or 4 bottles at $50 a piece, that's only $200 for a day. And then there's 2 of us that are taking all of this time and effort to dig this monster hole. It'd be $100 a piece. That doesn't cover the gas or any of the labor that we put into it. So you got to think, we really do have to love these bottles. Just because we sell them doesn't mean that we're sellouts, that we're not really into this hobby for the right reasons. Trust me, we're in it for the right reasons or we wouldn't be digging these gigantic holes. So at the end of the day, if you take anything from this video, the one thing that I hope that you do take is, if you do sell something that you find, it does not make you any less of a treasure hunter or a collector. Obviously, you wouldn't be going after it if the value was 0. There's a lot of people that give bottle diggers a bad rep on account of the sales and resales and everything that goes along with the hobby, but really, that's part of the fun. Being able to trade bottles and buy and resell, that's all part of it. And I still get that awesome gut feeling whenever I stumble across a good bottle in an antique store. Just that exact same feeling as if I dig it. Now, obviously, it's more fun if you dig it because it's free and you don't have to pay anything for it. But at the end of the day, it's still a treasure hunt in general. Now, if you'd like for us to do a video on us going out and doing buying and reselling, I'd love for y'all to drop a comment below on that as well. Because I've debated on doing a video of us doing that, going on these searches, whether it be following up on a Facebook lead and going and buying them off Facebook Marketplace or going to an antique store or a flea market, then videoing it and then showing the resale of what we actually made off each bottle. If that's something that interests you, though, please do leave me a comment. Alright guys, it looks like we're down to 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the auction. Now down to 1 minute 15. So my final guess is going to be $3,800. That's what I think the ball's going to go for after this long drawn out, me talking about it and everything. I just have a feeling that it probably won't hit the $4,500 mark. That's what Clayton was really hoping for. In either case, you got to think, if he only paid $2,200, $2,300, I forget what he paid for the bottle, and he ends up making you know, $1,000. That's not bad money to just buy the bottle, package it up, and ship it. I mean, I'll take that any day. That being said, I really want to dig some of these things, guys. I will keep my first Birmingham. You can mark my word on that one. That being said, though, let's see what we end up at. 30 seconds. Countdown time. I'm excited for him. I know that he has some plans for this money. 20 seconds. Getting closer. And if y'all are wondering, I'm watching eBay on here. Here we go. 10 seconds. Countdown now. Let's see. And the bidding's moving around a little bit. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Oh man, I was close. I was close. Right at $3,900. Congratulations, Clayton. That's a huge accomplishment. I know you got all the fun eBay seller fees and everything that's going to come out of that. Let me text him real quick and see who this went to. I just want to tell y'all where this bottle went. Oh, he just sent it to me. How about that? This bottle is going to China. I told y'all people in China would be just as interested in this as they were in the U.S. So that would be a worldwide collector of Coca-Cola that bought it. Pretty cool, guys. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave a thumbs down. Either way, I hope to see y'all in the next video.